Hey guys, so this is your video for week 3. This week we are going to be looking at lessons 5 and lesson 6. There is a lot that goes into lesson 5 and 6. Unfortunately, this is an online class. We have to go kind of quick with this stuff, and you guys are online, so I'm going to do my best to kind of go through this and show you what it is that you need to know. So we're not going to focus on everything. We're just going to focus on kind of the points that I really think that you need to know. So starting off on lesson 5, you can kind of see we've got our 8 different levels that we need to get through. I am on level 1 right now. If you look in the toolbox, you are going to see that there's 2 tabs. There's variables and functions. You don't need to worry about the functions tab right now. We're going to look at the variables tab. And as we go through these different lessons, you're going to see more stuff getting added to this toolbox. So the first item that we're looking at here is what we call a console log. If I wanted to, anything that's over here in the toolbox, if I want to add it to my workspace to make it part of my code, I can grab, drag it over, and drop it. That will add that snippet of code to my workspace. Remember, your workspace is what the code that actually runs when you click this run button. One of the things that I wanted to show you is over here on the right. You can toggle between block mode and text mode. So for the most part, I am going to be in block mode because I think that's what most of you are going to use. But if you have coded before, if you're comfortable typing the code, feel free to go ahead and switch over to text mode. So what is a console log? You'll notice down below your toolbox in your workspace, there's this debug console. Over here is a little slider that you can use that goes from turtle to rabbit. So as you slide this from left to right, that is how fast your code is going to run when you click the run button. Sometimes you're going to want it to go fast. Sometimes you're going to want it to go slow. I'm usually going to keep it on the faster side, but a little bit slower, because you will notice as I run this code, 2 things are going to happen. One, within the workspace, you're going to see each line get highlighted one at a time. That is basically for you to use to follow the code run, right? Which kind of makes sense, especially when you're first starting. The second thing that you're going to notice is every time a line of code gets highlighted, because this is a console log and we have this text in here, hi, with the exclamation that's in quotes, it is going to literally print hi inside the console. When the second line gets highlighted, it will print, this is a very simple program. It's going to keep doing that. So I'm going to click run. There's hi. This is a very simple program. You can display text in quotes, but you can also add display numbers like this, 100. Try adding some code of your own below. So basically, when I clicked run, it went through each line and logged out in the console whatever text I had in here. All right. You can always clear your console log over here if you need to, but what it wants you to do is just add some additional console logs. All right, so I'm just going to add 2 here. So now I'll slow it down a little bit. I'll run it one more time, and you see it highlights yellow, prints it out, and it just keeps going line by line. So another thing to notice on this is our code does run from top to bottom, right? Just like we would read it. So it's going to run line 1 first, line 2 second, line 3 third. There are ways for us to get the code to jump around, but we do not get into that in this unit. We'll get into that a little later. So I'm going to go ahead and click finish because I've done everything that it wanted me to do, which was to add 2 lines of code to display a string, 1 to display a number. So I could just come in here, display the number 50. Do notice that when I'm doing a number, I don't need to put the quotes around it. All right, so this time I should just get a 50 at the end. All right. My name is Mr. Randall, 50. So it's an important thing to notice here, right? The console log is going to print strings out to your console. If it's a string, you have to put quotes around it. If it's a number, you can just put the number in with no quotes. So I'm going to go ahead and finish this level, move to level 2. All right, level 2 starts introducing UI controls. So now in your toolbox, you have UI controls, variables, and functions. As we move through the different units, as we get more involved with this, more UI controls will be added. Right now, variables, just so console log. We're going to add more to this as well. But for now, we're just going to focus on UI controls. Specifically, there's this set property. If you remember last week, we talked about different design elements. So when you clicked on an element within your app, to the right in your design box, you had all the different properties that you could adjust. That is great when we're initially building an app and there's elements that we want on the screen, but how do we update those properties once our app is running? For instance, we have this big button right here. What if we wanted the user to be able to click a button and change the way this looks? All right, that is what this set property does. And if you'll remember last week, I had mentioned the ID element, ID property for all of your elements and how it's very important. The reason it's important is because of things like this. If you look at this set property, you can see that it has the word set property with the P capital because we're using camel case. There's an open and closed parentheses, and inside we are giving it 3 different values. Right? You should be asking, like, what are these values? How do I know what to put in here? If you look over in the toolbox for set property, it tells you set property with your open close parentheses. The first value that you give it is the ID. The second value that you give it is the property. The third value that you're going to give it is the value that you want that property set to. So in this case, right, look over here on the left, you'll see that there's code and design. Right, because right now your screen looks a little different than it did last week. If you click on design, this is what you were looking at last week. You have your different elements. For each element, you have your different properties that you can adjust. All right, if I click on the big button, right, I can see the properties for the big button. Notice that the ID says big button, written in camel case with a capital B. This is what I need to use when I am trying to update the code dynamically. So this ID right here is the ID for this element. All right, now if you're in block mode, you'll notice that there's little drop downs here. So it'll show you every ID that exists within your app. So in this case, I have my screen, which is this entire screen right here. And I have my big button, which is this button. All right, if you're ever doing this and you're not sure, like, I know I need to change this, but I don't know the idea. As long as you have not run your app, right, you'll notice if I put my mouse over here, it tells me the ID is screen. If I move it down to the button, you'll see that the ID is big button, right? So I could ID big button. The property that I'm adjusting is the background color. All right, so I choose background color, and in this case, it was blue. All right, so we can use this set property to adjust these elements using our code. All right, so what they want you to do is run this program to see how it works. So if I run it, you can see when I click it, I get a console log because it says starting my program. When I click it, it's going to adjust 3 different properties, all for the big button. The first one is the background color. It's going to adjust the height, and it's going to adjust the text. So I can see this set property, it's going to change the big button. It's going to change the background color to blue. This one is going to, again, change the big button. It's going to change the height, and it's going to change it to 200. This one is again going to change the big button. This time it's going to change the text, and it's going to say now it's a bigger button. And then when it's done, it's going to console log one more time and say ending my program. So if I reset this and run it again, what I should see is a console log that says starting my program down here. It's going to make the background blue. It's going to make it a little bigger, and it's going to change the text to say now it's a bigger button. Then lastly, it's going to console log out, ending my program. All right, so what it wants you to do is modify by adding one console log and one set property to this program. So I could come in here, add a console log. I could also change another property. All right, so again, I can just drag this into my code, drop it where I want it. This time I'm going to say, I'm going to adjust the screen. I want to change the background color, and I want the background color to turn green. All right, so if I reset this and run it, I should see everything happen the way it did the first time, except I will also have the background color of the screen change to green. And I'll get one more additional console that says thanks for playing. All right, so as this is going, before you finish this level, I want you to really make sure you understand that this is the set property. These, right, are the values that it's going to ask you to give it so that it can do the command that you're asking it to do. And really play around with this set property so you can kind of figure out how this works. All right, so now we're going to go to level 3. This one is very similar to the last one, but they are now introducing on events. All right, on events are the first chance for you to kind of make something interactive. All right, so if you look over here in the UI control, you now have an on event. You can see that the on event is going to ask for 3 things. One is the ID. So this is the ID that you're going to interact with. The type, I'll go over in a second. And this callback, I want you to just ignore it, honestly. You don't have to worry about the callback in this class. All right, so what does an on event do? Basically, an on event is a way for our code to listen for an input from the user. So if we look at line 2, we're saying on event, the ID is big button, the type is click. This green function is the callback. You need to just leave that the way it is. So if I click on the IDs, you can see I still have a screen and a big button. Those are the 2 elements of my app. So those are the 2 that show up here, the ID for big button and the ID for screen 1. If you click on this, these are the different types of interactions that a user could do with your app. So they could click a button. They could, if they pressed a key and then the key came up, that's a key up. When they press a key down, that would be an event. Mouse move, mouse down, mouse up, mouse over. That's a popular one, right? Sometimes you're on your computer, you're using something, you'll notice when the mouse moves over something on your app changes, right? That is an on event that's listening for a mouse over. For the most part, I would say in this class, you're going to use click, but sometimes we do change, sometimes we do mouse over, but make sure you understand what these types are. All right, so I'm going to change this back to click. I'm going to leave this at big button. So basically what this code is doing, you'll see this green function and this code inside the green. We say that it's encompassed within the callback, or it's enclosed within the callback. So when this on event happens, when you click the big button, so whatever element over here, right, this blue, when you click anywhere in here, this code that's enclosed inside this callback or this function or this on event is going to run. This code will not run until this event happens. All right, so if I click run over here, you'll notice like it console logs out starting my program, it console logs out ending my program, but none of this code runs because this event has not happened yet. So as soon as I click the big button, it will then change the background to blue, change the height, and change the text. So I'm going to click it. All right, now that that event's happened, you can see that these lines of code are running. So this is one way that we can make our app a little more interactive. This is how we can wait for the user to give us an input, and then we can produce a specific output for them, right? So what they want us to do is just kind of look at this, discuss it, or think about it. They want to add one line of code inside the on event and one line of code outside the on event. So I'm going to add a console log in here that says the button was clicked. And then it wants me to add one more outside of it. So I would just put, thanks for playing. All right, so if I reset my app and run it again, I'm going to go ahead and clear my console out so you can see this. When I first run it, I'm only going to see this console log and the lines 9 and 10 console log out. Nothing's going to happen for any of this code between 2 and 8 because this event has not happened. So when I first run it, I get my starting my program, I get the ending my program, and I get thanks for playing. Now, once I click this blue button, I'm going to get a console log that says the button was clicked. These 3 properties will be changed, and then it will say you clicked the button. So the button was clicked, it changed everything, and then it said you clicked the button. All right, so again, this on event is extremely important. Make sure you understand this. So I'm going to go to lesson 4. All right, this one just wants you to predict what's going to happen. All right, so I want you to look at this code and kind of knowing what you learned on levels 2 and 3, see if you can guess what's going to happen. All right, we're then going to go to lesson 5. This one, it wants us to run this program to see how it works. Make sure you click the button on the screen. How does the set screen block work? So we have a new UI control called set screen. And then it's going to ask us to add one command inside the second on event to set one property of the home icon. So first off, it just wants me to run this program. So if I click run, I got this tick or text that says go to the next screen. If I click it, I go to the next screen. If I click the house, nothing happens, right? So what's going on here? So I can see all of my code is inside 2 on events, right? This first on event is listening for a click on the next button. So if I mouse over here, I can see the home icon. The ID for that is home icon. The ID for this is next button. All right, so anytime this next button is clicked, it's going to set the screen to screen 2 and then log out, you click the next button. So what you will see over here, there's my home screen. If you click this drop down, you can see that there is a screen 2. So I now have 2 different screens on my app. For each screen, I can add elements. I can set properties individually. So what this code is saying is, hey, anytime I click the next button, I want you to set the screen to screen 2. And I can see that screen 2 is this grayish purple with a back arrow and a button that says back to the home screen. So if I test this, if I click go to next screen, this event has happened. So it's going to change my screen to screen 2 and console log out that I clicked the next button. This on event is listening for any time a back button is clicked. So if I look at screen 2, I can see this button, the ID is back button. Right? So anytime this click event happens on the back button, it's going to set the screen to the home screen and then console log out, you clicked the back button. So if I run this one more time, all right, I'm going to speed it up a little bit. If I click go to next screen, this click event happened, so it changed me to screen 2. Right? Now, if I click this home screen, or back to home screen, this event has happened, so now it sets my screen to home screen and a console logs out. You clicked the back button. All right, so on this level, it just wants you to add one command inside the second on event to set one property of the home screen. So this is my second on event, so I could do set property. All right, in this case, it wants me to set the property of the home icon, which is this. All right, so in my ID dropdown, I want to make sure I select home icon. I can change any property I want. All right, so what I want to do is change the icon color, and I'm going to make it red. So if I run this now, if I go to the home screen, if I go back, you can see now that I clicked my back button and this event happened, it changed my icon color from black to red, which is what I told it to do. So I'm going to go ahead and finish that, go to level 6. This one talks about comments. So comments are super helpful. We want to make sure that we add comments to our code. Your computer does not read comments as code. It ignores comments. All right, so these areas in gray, each one of these is a comment, and it's used to tell you as the developer or other developers that you may share this code with what this code does. So you just want to add some text in as a comment that's, in this case, this is saying anytime the cat button is clicked, I'm going to set the property of this message label to cat's rule. I'm going to play a sound, and I'm going to set the property of this pet image to this image. So they added 2 comments that just say when the user clicks the cat button, play a meow sound and show cat image and text. What they want you to do is add some code to the dog button so that it makes a sound too, and then change the message when the button is clicked. So if you look at variables, you have your console logs. If you look at functions, you see comments. So if you wanted to add a comment in here, I could drag and drop it, play dog sound when clicked. Right, I could then do a UI control, and now I have another one called play sound. So I could put this play sound in there. You'll see it's gonna, don't worry about this true or false. If it's false, it will play one time. If it's true, it will play multiple times. When you click the drop down, you can actually choose a sound. So I'm going to go to animals. I see that there's this dog sound here, so I'm going to choose that. So if I run this, I should see when I click cat's rule, it plays the sound, shows me the cat. And if I click dog, shows an image, it plays the sound, right? Sets the properties. Again, they're introducing comments, right? Comments are not code. The computer ignores them as long as you put these 2 forward slashes in front of it. Or if you use the comment block, you can add your comments in there. And then they've introduced this play sound. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and finish this one. When you get to 7, it's going to introduce another command to you. And it is this random number. So basically, when you run this, the idea is you're trying to save the sparrow. So you've got this little sparrow. As you mouse over things, they move and it plays sounds. You're supposed to keep the sparrow away from the hawk. Right? Kind of a silly game. But there's a couple of things that you'll notice. One is the hawk and the sparrow are not moving very much. The other thing that you'll notice is that it plays the sound. It's got the comments. It's got the on events. But specifically on this on event, it's not a click. It's a mouse over. So when I was playing the game, as I moused over these images, it moved them. Right? It wasn't listening for a click. In this case, our on event was listening for a mouse over this hawk ID. Or if I scroll down, a mouse over on the sparrow ID. That's what was causing the event to happen. That's what was causing this code to run. So what they want you to do is make the birds move around the entire screen, not just the top corner. They also want you to experiment with different event types. So I'll let you experiment with the different event types. But when it comes to getting these images to move around more, if you notice when I mouse over the screen, if I go to the upper left corner, it's like X0, Y0. If I go to the bottom right, my X can go up to 320 and my Y can go up to 450. All right, that's kind of the max area of my screen. 320 for X, 450 for Y. This random number, this is within the math tab on the toolbox. We can drag the random number over. You can see that it takes in two numbers. The first one is the smallest number that you want. The second one is the largest number. So right now it's saying, hey, anytime I mouse over the hawk, I want you to set the property of the hawk's X property and the Y property for the hawk to a random number between 0 and 100, right? Which basically means that that hawk or that sparrow for the X and the Y will go anywhere between 0 and 100. Right? So it's kind of a small area that it's going to move around in. But we can change these to be a lot more. Right? In this case, I'm going to say on the X side, because I know the max X is 320, I'm going to say anything between 0 and 320 for the X. And then for the Y, I'm going to say 450 because that's my max Y value. So what I'm basically saying with this code is anytime I mouse over the hawk, I want the hawk to move its X and Y position to a number between 0 and 350 for the X value and 0 and 450 for the Y value. Same thing for the sparrow. Move it to a random number between 0 and 320 for the X value and move it to a random number between 0 and 450 for the Y value. Right? That will happen anytime I mouse over the hawk. Be careful on this one because if you scroll down, you'll see there's another mouse over on event for the sparrow. You want to do the same thing for these. On the X, 320. On the Y, 450. All right, so now if I run this program, you'll notice when I mouse over either the sparrow or the hawk, it's going to move within the entire screen, not just that upper corner. All right, so now it's a bit of a better game, right? That's all they're really looking for you to do on this one. So once you get that in, you can go ahead and finish that one. Level 8 is just a check for understanding. And that will get you through lesson 5, right? So once you have this done, again, you're going to go ahead and do your screenshot. So we were looking at lesson 5 here. So I would come in, do my drop down, move down to lesson 5, take a screenshot so I can see your bubbles, I can see your name, submit that for lesson 5, and then make sure you watch the second video for lesson 6.